Police Commissioner firm on not resigning.
I will not step aside.
Tkatchenko vows to clean up Lands Department. And PNG Mosquitoes a good chance of making the finals.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Monday's news. Police Commissioner Gary Bucky says he will not resign from his post. It comes after members of the opposition called for his resignation. There has been ongoing pressure put on the police hierarchy to arrest the Prime Minister.
The latest tirade comes from the opposition calling on the police commissioner to resign. The outburst, published in the Post-Courier, got a response this morning.
And I'm confident that the case would not have dragged too long if this file is made available for me to have a look at and to make a decision. The integrity, as I will say, they've called for me to resign. My integrity is on the line, okay? And I have worked up very hard to build my own personal integrity to reach where I am today. I will not step aside, and I will not resign simply because of political calling, all right? No politicians have asked me to join the police force, and no politicians have assisted me to work my way out to where I am today.
Police Commissioner Gary Bucky says he still needs to receive the investigation file, and the Prime Minister has rights like any other citizen in the country.
Regardless of the allegations of the warrant against the Prime Minister, is still an issue. He's still an elected national leader and the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. Respect must be accorded to him regardless.
On Friday, leaders of parties that make up the opposition bench, National Alliance leader Patrick Pruich, Papua New Guinea Party Belden Nama, Papua New Guinea National Party Kerengakua, former Prime Minister and Mosby Northwest MP Sir Makera Morauta called for the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and Police Commissioner Gary Bucky to step down.
Clearly a conflict of interest demonstrated by the Police Commissioner.
He has compromised this office. I'm also calling on the Ombudsman Commission to intervene.
If he has done nothing wrong, what, defend yourself? That's what the court is there.
And 5 years to this day, we haven't even taken the first step.
The arrest warrant was issued against the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill over allegations of corruption in 2015. The Prime Minister has said on numerous occasions that he will cooperate with police if there is any evidence. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
An inquiry will be conducted into allegations of corrupt practices within the National Lands Department. New Lands Minister Tkatchenko says over the years the Lands Department has been heavily criticized and labelled as a corrupt government institution duplicating land titles. Fixing this will be his priority in his first 100 days in office.
Justin Tkatchenko in his last parliament term was very vocal about land-grabbing issues in Mosby South electorate since his swearing in as minister responsible for lands and fiscal planning. He wants to do a cleanup in the lands department.
Probably be hated by a lot of people. At the end of the day, I have a job to do. My job is to clean up the mess in the lands department. It's to make things more productive and more transparent. It's to put proper checks and balances in place that are not being followed at the moment. It's not going to be easy.
Over the years, the lands department has been bombarded with duplicate land titles. Tkatchenko wants to put corrective measures without fear or favor to ensure land titles are given to rightful owners and proper processes are taken when acquiring land.
Duplicate titles, people having two titles for the same property. All these sort of things need to stop. We need to put corrective measures in place, and I'll be working with my Prime Minister and the government to ensure that we clean up the lands department as best we possibly can. We have 5 years to do it. We'll set the goals and the criteria in place.
As Minister responsible, he will ensure the right revenue is collected from land tax.
There's hundreds of millions of kina of uncollected revenue from land tax. Now I'll be working closely with the Minister for Treasury, our Deputy Prime Minister, to look at how we can work on that and put a proper system in place to start collecting the land tax and helping our economy move forward.
Also, as a commissioner with the National Capital District Commission, Tkatchenko has pledged to work closely with NCDC and return land titles to appropriate authorities.
To look at all public reserves, all recreational areas, all road reserves and those areas that need to come back to the Commission and be back for the people of this capital city. Too many greedy, selfish individuals and companies have gone about over many years stealing and not paying for public land that belongs to the people. Enough is enough.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
A report has found that skill shortage remains an impediment to employment growth in Papua New Guinea. Fulfilling the land of opportunity, how to grow employment in Papua New Guinea, a 32-page report on the labour market in the country was released recently. Co-authored by Deloitte Touche Tohmatsu and UNDP, the report was compiled after a survey of over 200 businesses in the country's major centres. The report, a culmination of a survey of 230 businesses from 5 sectors, focused on the state of the local labour market. Its release coincided with the recent announcement of ministerial portfolios by the government under the leadership of Peter O'Neill. According to UNDP resident representative Roy Trivedi, the recommendations from this report are a good starting point for the government to see where there is need to train skilled workers, given that an overwhelming majority of employers surveyed highlighted a lack of skilled workers as a challenge in hiring.
When we looked at the skills survey, employers tell us they're looking for people with these kind of skills. If people had the right attitude and with these kind of skills, they would take them on. And what we're trying to do is to link up the human resources part of this, the training institutes and so on, to say, look, that's what employers are looking for. Why don't you start to work with your people, your students and people who are enrolled in your colleges to try and help prepare for that?
From businesses surveyed, key areas have been identified as being those in greatest need of skilled employees. These include management positions, professional service roles such as lawyers and accountants, and individual positions in hospitality, wholesale and retail. These shortages compounded when multiple skills were needed.
It's a two-pronged focus that needs to happen. One is the skills, but also then ensuring that we've got the people on board at the right time and with that willingness and ability to deliver what's needed on the day.
In its recommendation, the report calls for an immediate focus on skill gaps. According to the report authors, this can be achieved if individual regions and provinces identify industries or resources that can grow their economy.
But actually, every single provincial governor should be thinking about, well, where are the jobs going to come from in future in my province, and what do we need to do now with different employers, with different training institutes, with education and so on, to start to create that.
Building and broadening the industry base according to region and ensuring then that there is an ability to deliver the right skills that are needed for those particular industries by region, so that we can actually ensure that we don't need to be bringing everybody into Port Moresby to train them and then sending them back out into the provinces. We should be able to deliver agricultural skill sets where agricultural skill sets are needed. Hospitality and trades, we've got manufacturing as a hub with lay. We should be focusing there about what skills and training can we deliver that relate best to those industries.
East New Britain Province has revived its Chamber of Commerce after being dormant for over 2 years. Chamber of Commerce President David Stein says businesses are poised to expand and they must realise their potentials, not only for doing business but to develop the province collectively. Mr. Stein says the province has a big task on hand to make sure every citizen feels the impact of the much talked about economic boom.
The East New Britain Chamber of Commerce has made a comeback after it went defunct for nearly 3 years. The organization, comprising business representatives from both big companies and small businesses, have bond together to bring up what they consider as a fair representation of businesses in the province.
Traditionally not been.
David Stein is the president heading the new provincial commerce team that is trying to piece together a 5-year strategic business plan to make the concept of economic growth workable in the province.
The 5 things that I really wanted to push for is one is an international airport, for Tokwa to be upgraded to international airport. Roads, we need to have our roads sorted out. We need consistent and reliable power. We need reliable high-speed communications. We need to get the law and order.
East Newbiton has also been named as one of the major tourism hubs in the country, but the East Newbiton Chamber of Commerce for now calls it a faceless concept that still needs to be nurtured.
One of the things that the Chamber was pushing for is to make sure that we then have effective use of available funds, because a lot of times money has been squandered by...
The successful growth in the East Newbiton economy has been attributed to 2 main factors. First, the business investments, that includes small local businesses and big enterprises. Secondly, the large influx of tourists coming into the province on cruise ships is unprecedented in recent months, and these business factors have spurred the need to revive the Chamber of Commerce. But most importantly, having a Chamber of Commerce in place would mean providing a business representative to liaise with the government in terms of creating conducive environment for the businesses.
Trying to achieve those things, I mean, they're the capital expenditure and government support things that we need to do. There is then all of the building blocks that go towards having a successful economy and having a successful tourism industry.
The East Newbiton Chamber of Commerce hopes if their plan is successfully implemented, they will have played a major role in driving East Newbiton's economy forward through small to big businesses and tourism alone. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
You're watching National MTV News. When we come back, hundreds filled the St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Port Moresby to farewell former Electoral Commissioner, the late Sir Andrew Rowan. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. The funeral of former Electoral Commissioner Sir Andrew Rowan was held at the St. Joseph's Catholic Parish in Port Moresby today. Sir Andrew was one of the longest-serving public servants. He was Electoral Commissioner from 2004 to 2012. At the age of 62, Sir Andrew died on the 2nd of August, ironically the same day of the first meeting of the 10th National Parliament following this year's national general elections. In attendance at his funeral were families, friends, staff of the Electoral Commission, politicians and former associates.
The St. Joseph Parish at East Barocco was full to its capacity as mourners filled the church. He was known as a faithful Catholic that hardly missed a service. It was a fitting farewell as the funeral service began. Among the dignitaries were Opposition Leader Patrick Proich, Minister for National Planning Richard Maru, Electoral Commissioner Patilius Gamato, Political Party Registrar Alphonse Gelu, former colleagues, family and friends. His eulogy captured his childhood life where he lost his mother and only brother at the age of 9, to his days at Brandy High School and joining the Electoral Commission straight out of high school that would begin his 41 years with the Commission, to marrying Lady Anna and having 3 kids and adopting another 3.
Sir Rowan's life has been a journey reflective of Genesis 12 verses 1 to 3, which reads, "Get out of your country, from your kindred and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." This has been evident in Sir Rowan's life.
His eulogy also covered contributions he made to the country to uphold the democracy.
The Special Boundaries Review Report, which resulted in the creation of both the Jiwaka and Hela provinces. These are seeds which can have great potential to further improve the cause of democracy in Papua New Guinea. Sir Rowan, you have run the race that was set before you and achieved much in this race. You have contributed much towards ensuring democracy in our nation, Papua New Guinea.
The Electoral Commissioner Patilius Gamato also highlighted Sir Andrew's work with the Commission.
The review and change of the LPV version under the leadership of Rowan, the LPV changed from the old version when it was first introduced after the 2002 National Parliament.
Sir Rowan could not believe the sheer amount of problems and issues that came out from the 2017 elections. His children had to remove his phone as he was inundated with telephone calls and most calls with regard to the conduct of elections. He has told me many things, but this is not the forum to say.
Finally, the eldest daughter gave a moving tribute of her father, who she said had a legacy that will live on in every person her father had touched.
But going back to my father's legacy, the legacy is not only for us, his children, it's for all of you here, especially those of you who have been touched by my father's life. He intersected in your life purposely, I believe. You have been tasked to carry on his legacy in your doings. Live a life of faith. Live a life of a strong work ethic. Live a life of integrity. And live a life of humility and servitude. That will be the best gift you can give my father. Following and carrying on his legacy in your actions. That is what I task you all here to do as you gather to mourn and remember him. I speak for my siblings and I when I say, we are undeniably proud to be our father's children.
Late Sir Andrew Rowan is survived by his wife, Lady Anna, daughter Alcinda, son Brendan, Charlene, and 2 granddaughters. He will be laid to rest here in the nation's capital tomorrow. Adelaide Xerox Kari National, MTV News.
24 candidates for the Southern Highlands regional seat are against the transporting of the ballot boxes out of Mount Hagen City. They say Mount Hagen is a neutral area for the Highlands region and moving the boxes to Goroka or elsewhere will be too costly for them. The 24 candidates are still waiting on the decision by the Electoral Commission's office to move the counting to Goroka.
In a media conference today in Mount Hagen, the 24 Southern Highlands candidates, excluding the sitting governor William Powie, again warned the Electoral Commission not to transport the 131 ballot boxes out of Mount Hagen. They say if EC fail to comply, they will withdraw and return to Mendi with their supporters and scrutineers and will not attend the elimination process in Goroka.
In the hotels, wherever we are sleeping, these are all private expenses. So, Commissioner, you cannot take advantage of all these and take us here and there.
The 24 candidates say Mount Hagen is more secured and security is guaranteed. Before escorting the ballot boxes to Mount Hagen, they were thoroughly checked by the security forces and they say they respect the people of Western Highlands Province. All they want is to see the elimination process in Mount Hagen, which might take 2 to 3 days to declare a winner.
No, this is only one seat we are talking about. And if it needs to provide more security, then you can put all the security personnel. If you need the other finances, this is the only last remaining one.
This is the 8th day for them and their supporters in Mount Hagen after the boxes were transported from Mendi due to election-related deaths. They expected counting to resume in Mount Hagen immediately. However, the delaying is costing them to stay another week. They are appealing to the Electoral Commissioner to respect their rights and have the boxes counted in Mount Hagen.
Suppose you know not making one decision, right, Lotisla? 24 candidates, Southern Highlands regional candidate, you must resign.
Meanwhile, the Western Highlands Provincial Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Martin Lakari, urged the supporters and the candidates to respect the city and its people and behave. The Western Highlands Provincial Administration has given them green light to count in Mount Hagen. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
The national government must compensate Bougainvilleans who lost their businesses at the height of the civil war on the island. Many Bougainvilleans who are business owners raised this concern and are waiting for answers from the state for claims for loss of business and damages.
While the waiver of penalty fees by the Investment Promotion Authority has been welcomed by the Bougainville business owners, what's pressing is the claims for loss of business and damages caused by the civil war. Christian Tonama, one of many Bougainvillians and a business owner of Kappa No. 2 Limited, which operated during the golden era of the Dan North Solomons, lost their business because of the civil war.
Sa company number 2 now, but no Solomons property protect us. Me look out in Pankuna mining, all area. There's killing come up now. Me blood losing. All killing, all work boy blow me too, locosito. All student to boy blow me now. Me blood losing na come. So this la crisis. Even me plotting was affecting crisis. Affecting this or something.
Since 2011, Tonama has been following up on her claims, even losing her husband during those years. However, to date, these claims are still pending with the national government. She told EMTV News this is not an ordinary war instigated by Bougainvillians, but by the state, therefore calling on the national government of Papua New Guinea to sort out this issue.
All Naraplau people, no, yeah. All been claiming money, bro, all been kissing now. Why not Mipla Bougainvillians? Why not all pay Mipla? All must pay Mipla. According to the way, all been paying this out Naraplau. All been pay more because this is another plan. When in my business before a crisis, then through all Sampla all Anthony Channel, this time Francis Lamin, stop long entertaining all plants something finish. Me only more record blow stop. Or not done away. Still ball pay me. Still ball pay more Naraplato. Pay me black and business. How one black come up here.
She has also written letters to the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, but is yet to receive favorable responses, calling on the government of Papua New Guinea to take some precedent by paying all her claims and including those of other Bougainville business owners.
Like some millions of kina, only pay more finish, non-Bougainvillians, all no Bougainville line, me pest plum mama, me come out, me like, I can stim this all payment only make him now. Only pay more finish, me no can talk one, only pay more finish now, only must pay me the same way, same road. Come on, even entertaining finish. You must pay me plus same. You want mama, one plus struggle mama. Now me like in a big one them all. Picking blow me.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Sustainable forest management plays an important role in ensuring that the country's forest resources are well utilized and managed. Magdalene Maihua from the PNG Forest Authority said this at the launch of Sustainable Forest Management Training in Leh today, adding that people need to be aware of policies and practices in place due to global warming and climate change.
Papua New Guineans have always been connected to their land and forest, depending on its provision for survival. Over 40 years, communities dependent on forests have come under pressure from logging companies and developers.
Our future generations might not enjoy the benefits that we obtain from the forest today.
Magdalene Maihua, Director of Project Allocations of the PNG Forest Authority, is concerned about the future generations.
We want to make sure that we manage the forest in such a way that we do not disadvantage the future generations.
The PNG Forest Authority is stressing on sustainable forest management for this cause.
To achieve SFM, we came a long way with having in place the Papua New Guinea Logging Code of Practice that spells out all the pest environmental practices.
Practices that will ensure that the environment is protected and water quality and biodiversity is maintained. Project monitoring officers are now being trained in a week-long training which was launched in Leh today.
So that we upskill our project monitoring officers in the project sites with new knowledge, new way of doing things.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
The National Agriculture Research Institute and Trukai Industries have signed an agreement that paves way for research into ways to improve commercial rice production. Both organizations will be putting together resources and knowledge in line with that aim. Ultimately, Trukai wants to see a reduction in the dependence on imports.
Trukai and Nari have been working together for 15 years, and in the last 5, their efforts have intensified, with Trukai looking to increase local production and reduce imports.
Nari, through their expertise in research and development, are going to conduct a study in the background.
This afternoon, both organizations signed an agreement which now commits them to allocating resources and knowledge to rice development in Papua New Guinea.
We're confident. In fact, I think one of the varieties Trukai is already using in its commercial production.
This kind of partnership shows that there's credibility already on the ground in Papua New Guinea.
Trukai is the biggest rice producer and distributor in the country. In recent years, it's come under pressure to increase local production and participation in the industry. That pressure has triggered serious action in the last 3 years, with Trukai's management focusing on locally grown rice in the Markham area and other provinces.
We've already started the land preparation of towards 600 hectares of rice growing up there on 2 sites at Chingwam, and we'll be producing our first significant crop this year, harvested early in the new year.
Today's MOU adds research into the equation, backed by serious resources. The collaborative effort is for a period of 5 years and will be carried out in Central, Eastern Highlands and Morobe. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
The performance of Lihir Mine in New Island Province has been credited as a main driver of positive results for Newcrest Mining Limited during the 2016-17 financial year. In its full-year results released today, Newcrest Managing Director and CEO Sandip Biswas highlighted the contribution of Lihir to the company's overall performance, with Lihir generating 353 million Australian dollars during this time, more than 850 million kina. According to Mr. Biswas, the financial performance was marked by a significant improvement in safety and operational performances, particularly at Lihir. In December 2016, Lihir reached its production target of 13 million tonnes per annum, with this operation looking to increase to 14 million tonnes per annum by December this year. This increase in production was also helped along with an increase in gold prices, as well as a weaker kina against the US dollar. During this time, Lihir's output generation has also meant direct benefits for PNG, translating into 69 million kina in royalty payments in January to December 2016, and a further estimated 40 million kina between January and June this year. And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at 0.3145 US dollars in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying 0.307 US dollars, 0.385 Australian dollars, 0.256 euro and 33.16 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at near close, coffee and cocoa closed higher, gold is trading lower, copra closed the day lower. Palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, while copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 14 points higher, the ASX closed 37 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 35 points higher. You're with National MTV News, some stories making headlines overseas. When we return, stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now, and on the Pacific island of Guam, the locals have gone to church to pray that North Korea does not follow through with its threat to fire a missile. The American territory just north of PNG has become a target in the war of words between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. North Korea hasn't threatened Guam, but to fire a warning shot to land in the ocean.
For generations on the island of Guam, the native people have heard the drumbeat of war. Here you won't find panic, but on this Sunday, the quiet solace of prayer. Most who call this island home are Catholic, today worried about a conflict between the United States and North Korea.
We are caught on the middle. And you're a damn if you do, and you're a damn if you don't.
It's not the first time Guam has been colonised, invaded and occupied. The Spanish, Japanese and Americans have all spilled blood here. Today, the island remains as beautiful as it is strategically important. The Air Force, Navy and Coast Guard cover a third of the island, with plans to increase their presence, the most western base on US soil, a declared target for North Korea.
They have a great stake and they've paid their dues to the United States, no doubt.
On this island of 160,000 American citizens, family is a way of life, as is tourism, the military and fear over the next fight.
The threat, just live your daily lives, you know. If it happens, it happens.
On this Sunday, on the doorstep to conflict, many are turning to their faith, praying for peace in paradise.
The White House has defended President Trump's statement over the violence at a white nationalist rally in Virginia. The president is under fire, even by some fellow Republicans, for failing to explicitly condemn the far right after they clashed with opposition groups.
The Virginia governor went from row to row, hugging worshippers in this Baptist church. He promised to keep politics out of the pulpit, but there was a message he felt he had to give.
It is about politics and that the political rhetoric in this country today is breeding bigotry.
Hundreds of white supremacists gathered in the city yesterday for a planned rally. Brawling broke out as far-right groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, were challenged by civil rights activists. A car, at speed, rammed into protesters. The crash killed 32-year-old Heather Heyer, who'd fought racism all her life. Police have charged 20-year-old James Fields with second-degree murder. One of the organisers of the far-right rally tried to hold a press conference. He was heckled, almost drowned out.
I would like to condemn any of the violence that happened yesterday. Shame! Shame!
As the crowd shouted him down, he tried to leave. But instead, he was forced to flee.
Keep coming this way.
The president stopped short of explicitly condemning the alt-right for these violent scenes, and some fear that having Donald Trump in the White House has emboldened white supremacists.
It is important for us to call these people what they are, white supremacists. I don't understand why that is so difficult. That is what they are. They're not hiding this behind a statue. They didn't come here because of a statue. They came here because, just as David Duke said yesterday, they came to fulfill the promise of President Trump and take their country back.
Calm has been restored for now, giving this city time to remember those who lost their lives while challenging hate and trying to keep the peace.
7 white helmets killed in terror war in Syria were buried in an emotional farewell. The volunteer group said unidentified gunmen stormed their office and shot the volunteers. Meanwhile, Syria says it's making progress, recapturing areas controlled by ISIS. The CNN report from one of the frontline battles against the terror group.
An assault on ISIS in the eastern Syrian desert. The Syrian government says it has drastically stepped up its offensive against the terror group on various fronts and recently released this video showing their gains on the battlefield. Syria's military gave us access to one of those front lines, where ISIS too is increasing the pressure, the local commander says. You feel that the fighters of ISIS are brainwashed, he says. They're coming here to die. They're fearless. They fight until the end. ISIS is attacking this area because it's near a strategic road and a pipeline. But also, the Syrian army believes because the group is losing so much territory in other parts of Syria and in Iraq.
As ISIS gets squeezed out of its urban strongholds like Raqqa, more and more of its fighters are coming down into this region. And the men we're with say they've had to deal with a lot more ISIS attacks than before.
And sometimes those attacks amount to massacres. ISIS fighters invaded the village Akareb in May, killing more than 50 civilians, according to Syrian government media. 9-year-old Mudar says he was forced to watch his mother, brother, and 2 sisters get executed by the militants, only barely surviving himself. I acted like I was dead, he says. They started stepping on me, but I didn't move at all. The massacre in Akareb has fueled hatred towards ISIS among Syrian government troops, vowing to rout the terror group at any cost. I am ready to fight day and night against ISIS, this fighter says. We've decided already that ISIS will not get out of this area. And the commander adds, getting rid of ISIS is only a question of time because the Syrian army has decided to defeat them totally in this area. We tasted their massacres like the one in Aqareb. Both attacking and defending against ISIS are difficult in this desert area. Still, the Syrian army and its Russian backers say ousting the terror group from the southeast of the country is now their main priority, and they hope to accomplish that task in the coming months.
The Queen is reportedly making plans to abdicate, handing over her powers and responsibilities to Prince Charles. The royal publicist says preparations are underway for it to happen when the Queen turns 95 in 4 years.
Well, Queen Elizabeth has said in the past that she would never abdicate. That means she would never hand over the throne. But there are plans afoot for her to hand over to Prince Charles. And this report has come from our own royal editor, Rob Jobson. He says that he's spoken to several sources inside Buckingham Palace that suggest plans for a transition are already underway.
Look, we're in uncharted territory at the moment. The Queen, I understand, has said when she reaches 95, that's a good time, if she's still alive, to hand over to Prince Charles. Prince Philip, at 96, has just retired. We've never had a consort retire before either. So, all of these things are open for discussion.
The palace source has said that the Queen has great respect for the monarchy and she would make sure that she had carried out all her duties for the country before handing over such a responsibility to her eldest son for what's being called planned regency. So a lot of palace intrigue at the moment about who exactly will follow Queen Elizabeth on the throne and when.
You're watching National EMTV News. Tkatchenko Sports is next. The Mosquitoes aiming high in the AFL International Cup in Melbourne. That story after the break. Stay tuned.
Tkatchenko Sports.
Welcome to Tkatchenko Sports. To AFL, as the PNG Mosquitoes prepare to play against South Africa tomorrow, coaches David Lake and Daryl White are confident they have a pretty good chance of earning a spot in the final.
After a 92 points win over USA on Saturday, today was all about putting every effort into training both on the field and in the pool as Mosquitoes prepare to take on South Africa. Coaches David Lake and Daryl White say the Mozzies will give all their best in the match as there is no going back empty-handed. This match will determine PNG's position in the final, and coaches Lake and Daryl are confident the Mozzies will do well tomorrow.
And then if we can beat South Africa by 10 goals, I think that would allow us to pick up the 35% that we need to be in the final. And then we need to really give it to South Africa. So, as I just mentioned to John James Levi, that we may have to actually pick our very best team for this game as if it's a final, because this really is our first grand final. Because I do believe if we can get on the MCG, we could wreak havoc with the types of players we got, the great mix of big, strong players and young, keen, running players. We could really make anyone's life difficult and bring home that cup again.
He says watching the boys play in the last few days, they have certainly changed their game plan for the better and are stronger than ever before.
Bit of a shame the way the competition's run. I really think the top 4 teams, one should play 4, 2 should play 3, and whoever goes through the grand final then. Arguably the grand final was the first game we played. It was the best game, and obviously it suited Ireland a little bit better. But look, we're not going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to do everything we can to get over the line, and hopefully we get that shot on Saturday.
White says the Mozzies are in it to win it and are looking forward to winning back-to-back the International Cup title. If the Mosquitoes win over South Africa by a margin, they are more likely to face either New Zealand or Ireland, depending on the percentage they get from the match against South Africa. As defending champions of the 2014 title, the PNG Mosquitoes are hoping to retain their win once more and to step aside as the first country to win back-to-back the International Cup. Last two teams running in the competition are expected to create an intense battle to win the 2017 International Cup this Saturday at the MCG. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To cricket, and the under-19 Garmuts are following in the footsteps of the senior national teams, putting up an exceptional performance in the ICC Under-19 World Cup East Asia Pacific qualifier in Samoa. Currently on top on the points ladder after winning all of their 3 matches against Samoa, Fiji and the latest being Vanuatu, their path to the Under-19 World Cup looks promising. They are currently playing Samoa and will face Vanuatu again tomorrow to seal the deal. Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To football, and the National Soccer League semi-finals this Wednesday will again see the top 2 teams in the NSL going head-to-head with everything on the line for a place in the grand final. PS United will face arch-rival Madang FC in Lae, with the winner to play Lae City Dwellers in the 2017 NSL Grand Final.
PS United has been competitive in their previous encounters with Madang FC. However, these two sides have been tailing each other on the ladder throughout the season, with both teams having a fair share of rivalry on the field. But Madang had the upper hand, sitting second spot behind defending champions Lae City Dwellers for most of the time. Madang has won almost every encounter with PS United, leaving the Huawei-sponsored side frustrated, coming so close on occasions, but would succumb to a defeat. This time around, PS United will be banking on the experience of international players in Donovan Murray to lead the charges and Richard Alois creating opportunities in the midfield area. Madang, on the other hand, has been instrumental in their last outing, with the core of the team not short of experience, with veteran playmaker Neil Hans returning to the fold, has somewhat bolstered the side's attacking prowess. Meanwhile, departure of young defender Felix Komlong to the United States may have left a dent on Madang's backline defense. However, PS United will have to cut down Madang's talismanic player Samuel Keeney from ball distribution and style Guba, causing problems on the fly. The match between PS United and Madang will be held in Lae this Wednesday, with the winner to face defending champions Lae City Dwellers in the grand final. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
In athletics, superstar sprinter Usain Bolt has been farewelled from international competition at the World Athletics Championship in London.
The 30-year-old was given a piece of the London track, where he won 3 of his 8 Olympic gold medals. He then did a lap of honour with the entire crowd on its feet, celebrating the man who holds both the 100 and 200 metre world records.
He owes the world nothing, and we owe him a debt of gratitude and a whole host of memories that are indelibly etched on our minds.
Despite the Jamaican's final event not quite being the farewell he was after, the crowd definitely didn't mind.
For me, I just want to thank for the support. It's been immense. It's been just outstanding. You guys have really showed me a lot of love. I really appreciate it.
Bolt is often regarded to as the greatest of all time and is the only athlete to pull off the triple-double, winning the 2 sprint events at 3 consecutive Olympics. The Black Ferns have made a statement at the Rugby World Cup, thrashing Hong Kong 121-0 in their second pool play match. Easy pickings from word go, the Ferns crossing just 50 seconds into the game, while Portia Woodman was having the game of her life, dotting down for 8 of the Kiwis' 19 tries.
Out to Woodman, Portia Woodman, too good!
Oh, it's bloody amazing, Mel. You know, Portia Woodman, she's a sprinter. We try and catch up to her all the time, but, you know, she finished the job for us today, so well-deserved player of the match for her.
They now come up against Canada in the final round-robin match on Thursday night, New Zealand time.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have further weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby becoming cloudy at times with a shower or 2. Mostly fine but becoming partly cloudy and windy for Daru, becoming cloudy with a few showers expected for Kerma. Mostly fine for Alatau, becoming cloudy with a few showers for Popendetta. To the Mamasi region, Lay, some cloud with rain and showers also in Wow, cloudy with some rain for Medang, cloudy and showers for Wewak and Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, becoming cloudy with a few thundery showers, cloudy with some rain and showers expected for Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect some rain over the next 24 hours with morning fog.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Monday the 14th of August 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.